Hi guys, Lynn Cox here, a stress and performance anxiety expert. Happy Monday to you all. Um, I had posted on my story a little bit about priorities that somebody else on Instagram had posted, and I said more on priorities later because priorities are really important for a number of reasons. So I just want to have a bit of a discussion about priorities, how we understand what they are, how they tend to form in our lives, and then what happens when we're living out of alignment with our priorities, and then what we can do to rectify that. So first of all, priorities. So the post that I put up, oh, here's Jimmy coming up behind me. He's one of my priorities. He's just snuggled right in there. Anyway, so the post that I put up said something to the effect of, no one's going to remember like what kind of house you had, car you drove, yada, yada, yada. They'll remember how you made them feel. Kind of like the message was kind of, so remember that and get your priorities straight. So here's the thing about priorities. And I work with a lot of people. I've worked with a lot of people who have had a lot of success in their business and careers. So how do we form what we prioritize in our lives? Well, because I work with people who are trying to change something, so trying to maybe alleviate some symptoms of stress in their lives, trying to enhance their performance in different ways, i.e., interviews, selling, becoming more successful, enhancing their physical optimization and performance. How do we get these priorities? So one thing I have noticed is that with some more quote unquote, like traditionally, culturally speaking, successful people, some of those priorities that they have had throughout their lives stem from the culture in which they grew up in. So we are very, very impressionable as young children. We're, at a very early age, kind of given the rule book of society, and then within our own particular family units, we come to know kind of what are the behaviors and expectations that are going to make us either, and I'm being very simplistic here, but either a good boy or girl or a bad boy or girl. So we're constantly learning things when we're young through rewards and punishment. And this type of system carries out through our lives. So here's an example. So if you grew up in a family where there was kind of right from the get-go a strong expectation that you achieve really good grades, that you pursue higher education, that you follow in your father's or your mother's footsteps in terms of career. I've actually worked with clients who are in law professions and medical professions where this has been the case. Those priorities can sometimes be instilled in us before we have the chance to understand really what our priorities are. We do live in a culture, there is a lot of truth to that repost that I shared today. We do live in a culture that values, success, material items, as illustrated by things like cars, clothing, title, money, like finances. We do live in that culture. But the point being, what we prioritize often is set down, laid down at a young age before we really have the opportunity to know ourselves well enough and to formulate our own very unique set of priorities based on who we are, because we're all individuals. It's not to say, the gene to be a lawyer, as far as I know, there's not a gene, for example, to be a lawyer and for that to be your life purpose. Nor is there, for acquiring a certain type of vehicle or a home. resources and the fear of not having resources, that goes way, way back in our, human physiology and development. It was up until, I believe, about 500 years ago that starvation was the leading cause of death in humans. So the fear of scarcity is something that's in our primitive brain, our reptilian brain, it's sometimes referred to. But we do need to sit down and ask ourselves, are these really my priorities? Me as a 30-something-year-old person or a 40-something-year-old person, do I even really know what my priorities are, or how much of it is the conditioning in which I was raised? So often high achieving people with anxiety had a role in the family where it was the expectation that they would perform to a certain level. Often in families with multiple children, you'll have one that's more of the caregiver, one that is more of the kind of perfectionist / high achiever, one that kind of turns away from it and is considered to be more the rebel. And even those roles can stay with us as we age and then become adults and then make decisions about our lives. So when people come to see me, there's something in their life that is not working. That is a certainty. And it could be a range of different things, but understanding who you truly are and what your true priorities are, that's often something that hasn't been discovered, because the conditioning and programming happens so early, is often so repetitive, and can also seem to be kind of subtle until you actually go back and speak to the subconscious mind, that is our emotional mind that's essentially running our programs. Some people aren't aware of what truly their priorities are. So here's where this can come to become a problem for people. So let's say, I'll use the example of, growing up in a family where, father's a successful lawyer, expectation is son or daughter is going to follow in their footsteps, either be equally as successful in terms of career status and financial, finances. So that situation, so that conditioning's laid down, person, goes throughout their life, throughout school with that priority set in mind, executes on the expectation, what they believe to be the priorities, goes through law school, gets a job, finds themselves at some point feeling dissatisfied, lack of motivation, feeling some kind of discord. So this could be the discord, the something that's not working. So step number 1 is to be able to go back and uncover why the discord is there. And it could very well be that, because I don't feel like I'm living in accordance with who I truly am. That's something that can be uncovered and discovered through inquiry. And then the other thing about priorities and how we live our life. So I'll give you the example. I've worked with a lot of people who have wanted to shed weight and be at a certain level of optimized health, and can't seem to, for as much as they do say, I want to have this, it's a hugely important priority in my life to be healthy, to be fit, to shed this excess weight that I can't seem to get rid of. And then they're still behaving in ways that aren't going to get them to what their said priorities are. So that includes behaviors like, binge eating, not getting good rest, not feeling motivated to nor wanting to do their workouts, etc. All of those things that are the habits and the consistent and persistent habits that are absolutely a requirement to achieving those said priorities. So then what happens is priorities are over here, behaviors over here, they're not lining up, and that causes discord. It's a misalignment. And again, there are reasons why there's this disconnect between priorities, when we're talking about this example of health, of weight, etc., and behaviors. So again, there is some reason why these behaviors aren't leading the person to the priorities. So again, without understanding what lies beneath, what is the reason for knowing I don't want to be overweight, I don't want to be unhealthy, I want to feel rested and get good sleep, yet I'm finding myself on my phone late at night, snacking on cookies late, sloughing off my workouts, etc. There's a reason for that disconnect between behavior and priorities. And this is something that can be discovered while in a state of hypnosis, which is simply a slowed down brainwave state where you can access your subconscious mind, all of those emotional drivers, all of those programs that were laid down. Every single thing that's ever happened to us is recorded in our subconscious. And we can go in and say, I'll use the name Jane. So why is it that Jane continuously skips her workout in the gym, can't seem to release this extra weight, loves to eat cookies late at night, etc., etc.? And there will be some kind of underlying belief structure that was formed, again, at a young age. So we can develop priorities as we become adults who can make decisions and who understand that we have agency over our life. But when those behaviors aren't lining up with the priorities that are the ones that we really establish ourselves, the discord there can become very difficult and very stressful for people. A lot of people feel the impulses to do things like, be able to share some ideas that they have, try a new business venture, stand up in front of a group of people and deliver a presentation and deliver one that they feel good about, but something holds us back. So that's the discord between the behaviors and the habits and the priorities. So in summary, priorities, purpose, whatever you want to call it, they're kind of all the same thing. Often we can be stumped because perhaps some of those priorities aren't truly our priorities. They could be ones that have been instilled in us, in our programming at very young ages. They could be other people's priorities, or they could be a culture's priorities. So understanding that is really important for feeling that you are mentally and emotionally and psychologically strong and agile. And then the other part of priorities is once we are able to establish priorities that we know truly, I give the example of health and wellness and being a healthy weight as one for sure. Who doesn't want to feel good? Who wouldn't truly want to feel energetic, healthy, and at the most optimal weight and composition for their particular body? Who wouldn't want to feel great like that? So being able to establish priorities, but then understand where the disconnect and the discord is between the behaviors to truly be in the state where you are living in accordance with your priorities and with your goals. So those are my thoughts for today. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or would like to dig into this. Bye for now.